Hey mamas, thank you so much for tuning in for our Empowered Mama segment. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing fellow empowered mama and parenting coach and owner of the High Impact Club, Marcela Collier. Marcela is a mama of twins, a certified positive discipline parent educator, and she helps parents respond to their children's behaviors with what they specifically need. So she has helped children in the therapeutic foster care program with their behaviors for over 8 years, in addition to helping thousands of parents around the world. And that's actually how I came to know of Marcela and her amazing work, which was through social media on the TikTok, and then obviously on her other platforms that I've learned since. And I have literally learned so much just via her social media platforms. And I do know that she also offers private consultations, online programs, and guides, amongst a bunch of other stuff that you're always putting out, to help out. And if you're on the path of wanting to break generational trauma and be a parent that understands your children on a deeper level, this is the mama that you want to engage with. So no worries, we'll make sure to link everything in the description and we'll talk about it during this interview. So without further ado, welcome Marcela, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Naisha. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yes.
You know something? My last name is Restrepo too.
Is it? Are you related to my husband?
Yeah, Collier is from my husband, but yes, my middle name is Marcela Restrepo.
Oh my God. Okay, so we're gonna have to touch base after, because I think that, and you're from the same part of Colombia. You're from Medellin, where his family's from.
Yes.
All right. So
okay. So the Restrepo is from your husband.
Yes.
Wow.
My maiden name is Belay. And I'm, I told you I'm New Yorican. So, and Puerto Ricans, we have like a whole mix of stuff. So, so let's go right into it. So I know that you have heard this question so many times, but for our viewers today, can you tell us, what the main difference is between gentle parenting versus traditional parenting?
Okay. So traditional parenting is based on obedience, on what the parent wants from the child. Gentle parenting, and better so, I call it parenting with understanding, is based on what the child needs in order to survive, thrive, and develop as a confident, safe, secure adult. It's more about what they need from us than what we are demanding from them.
That's so well put. I think a lot of people get confused to what gentle parenting is. They assume that it's one thing over what it actually is. And I know watching your videos, I've learned so much myself. I'm a parent to a 3-year-old. I have one on the way. And just watching the way that you describe everything just makes so much sense to me. It's not, I think a lot of people think of it as you're just letting people do like permissive parenting, like you're just letting them do whatever, when we all know that that's not the case. So for you, when was it that you decided that you wanted to pursue parenting with understanding, that route with your children?
Okay, so when the twins were born, I already had 9 years working as a therapeutic provider. So I had a lot of experience and training, helping children overcome behavioral challenges, helping them manage their emotions, providing secure care and training on social emotional skills. So yes, when the twins were born, I kind of knew what I needed to do. Now, back in the day when I started doing foster care, that was in 2011, the end of 2011. I was really, really sure about something. At the time, I wasn't a therapeutic provider, a certified parenting coach. I was just a mom with a big desire of help these kids that didn't have the fortune of growing up in a secure home. So I was very sure about how I didn't want to show up for these kids. And growing up, being raised in a traditional Latino parenting household, my parents loved me. I have no doubt of that. And they did the best they could. However, their methods to address my behaviors were very old school, traditional parenting mentality. Like, you have to do as I say. My needs, my emotional needs were not as seen, as met as I needed to. So I didn't want that. I didn't want to uh, come up as disrespectful with those children. I didn't want them to feel, well, many things that I felt growing up, maybe I isolated, maybe hurt by my own parents, and especially these kids that were really coming from trauma. So I was very sure why I didn't want to, but I didn't really know what I needed to do in order to address behaviors successfully, right? Because I still needed to be that parent who guided them, who taught them positive behavior, who had to deal with those tantrums and meltdowns and the defiance. And I found myself a lot of the times not knowing what to do. And you know what? When you decide to pursue gentle parenting, in the beginning, you may tend to go more towards the permissive side, not because gentle parenting is permissive, but it's because you're figuring out and you're learning what works and what does not work. And because what you know is throwing chancla and yelling at the kids, you're figuring out, if it's not that, what is it? And you may fall for a little bit on permissive parenting unless you make the conscious decision of leveling up your skills and pursuing your parenting education, investing your time and money. I invested my time and money to learn. And then I went even farther than that. I became a therapeutic provider and then certified coach, and then the list went on. And fast forward to now, I serve thousands of parents around the world, helping their kids with their behaviors and needs.
That's so amazing. I know that that's like dedication on your end for sure. And I think a lot of parents, or even before going into parenthood, it's easy to make assumptions on how you're going to handle things, but it's not until you're actually working with your own children, or like you said, you worked within that field, where you learn that there's going to be things that trigger you that you didn't even know were going to trigger you until it happens. And I know that there are a lot of moms out there, a lot of parents in general, that hit that roadblock sometimes. So that's great that you continued on in learning and growing and being able to teach people, because people do want to learn. They don't want to hit their kids anymore. Like, I know that was one thing for me, 1000%. I was like, I do not want to hit my kids, and I want to communicate with them. But I'm not gonna lie, like, I've also yelled, and then it's now that he's 3 that I'm kind of like, what am I doing? He's 3. Like, I've had 30 plus years to learn how to navigate my own emotions, and I'm expecting the 3-year-old to get it. Like, how is that fair? So that was something that I had to like really buckle down and like self-reflect on my end. So, and then hence why I started following your page. And it's been so helpful, honestly, it really has. So once you did become a mom, you continue to pursue this path of teaching and coaching. How has that been for you? Like, do you encounter struggles or criticism from your support people, like your husband, his family, your family? How do you handle that? Like, how do you navigate that space while you're trying to also, empower and grow your own children?
Okay, so I don't have a problem with my husband because he's a counselor. He's
Okay.
been in the field for over 20 years. He trains psychologists in this.
That's beautiful.
So, yes, I haven't had a problem with him. My family at the other end, that's when the rubber meets the road, because they're very stuck on their ways of like, you have to make them do things. So like, they're very stuck on that the child is just there to respect their parents and obey their parents. When obedience is doing what is told, no matter what is right, and morality is doing what is right, no matter what is told. And in my culture, Latinos, we were taught to follow and listen, no matter if it was right or wrong. And then it put us in a very vulnerable position of growing up and encountering adults that maybe were not safe. And then because we felt the social expectation of listening to our adults, many of us were hurt by those unsafe adults just because we came with the narrative of children need to listen to their adults. So I'm changing that narrative, not just with my kids, but with my parents and my abuelita as well. I'm not trying to change them on any means, but I think I'm doing a good job on creating that new mindset in them. It's been rocky. If you follow me on social media, you see abuelita's questions, and then I talk to them every day, and every day they come up with a new something that sometimes I show in social media. And it's because, yes, for them, they have to unlearn 70 years of thinking one way, you know, but it's been very rewarding to see the little snippets of change and progress that they've made with their own selves, with me, and with my kids.
Yes, I do. I watch all your stuff. So that, well, Abuelita specifically, I'm very close to my grandma on my mom's side, and I talk to her so much too. And I've noticed that she's shifted a little bit too in her way of thinking. Of course, like you said, they have 70 plus years of what has been ingrained and how they've been living. But I think that when they also see us living our truth and trying to change that narrative, like you said, I do see the difference in it. And I find it to be so beautiful and empowering for, like, not only for you, but for yourself, for your children. There's a saying that when we decide to break generational traumas, you heal 7 years behind and 7 years forward. And I think that you're helping so many heal.
7 years or 7 generations?
Or 7 generations, not 7 years. Yeah. 7 generations. Yes. And there's so many people that are going to benefit from that and from the work that you're doing. So I applaud you for sharing that and giving us insight into how you're doing it. It's helping us, one person at a time.
Thank you.
And I absolutely love and respect your approach, how you handle situations with such grace. So my question to you is, do you plan out these answers in your head before you spend time with them? Or is it something that it just comes naturally at this point for you?
No. Okay. So if you follow me on social media, I've been sharing my conversations with my parents since December. Before, I didn't share it because maybe I thought that was something people didn't want to listen to. I don't know. Or maybe I didn't feel comfortable or asking them permission to share. But since they came here and they saw the difference that parenting with understanding makes in the kids compared to the older parenting style, they got curious and they wanted to learn. And then abuelita, my parents told me, I mean, if you want to record, you can record. So what I usually do is not on every single day, but sometimes I call them every day and I'm like, okay, today I'm going to record everything we talk. And we just start talking about whatever, the kids, the house. And then at the end, I end up with a 45-minute video. And then I go through it and I see, oh, maybe this is something that I could post in social media. So it's not scripted. It's just what happens naturally in the conversation, and I edit it out a little bit to show the highlight, and that's what's been going on.
Yeah, That's great because it's like you're parenting with understanding not only your children but also your parents, you know. So that's the cool thing about it, that you're learning or you're teaching tools that can help benefit all around, because it's like they say, it takes a village. It's not only, obviously it starts with us for our own kids, but I think it's important. That's a great thing to know, that what you're teaching also kind of like intertwines with teaching those around us on top of ourselves and our
We
children.
have to be very careful with that because they have their own trauma, they have their own baggage and their own sensitive, tender spots.
Mhm.
So if we poke the bear too much, they're going to close on us. Or if they're not even open to have the conversation, it's invasive if we try to push the conversation, because a lot of the times this conversation hurts them. So I only go as far as they allow me to go. And that's how I've been handling them.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's a good thing to know for sure. Because I've experienced that with my own parents, and I know that. I just like some things I just kind of leave alone, but if they're wanting to hear it, then we can talk about it. So, but
There
you're
is a difference between setting boundaries with them and another and teaching them.
yes,
For you to know that you can teach them, they have to be willing, they have to give you their consent of wanting to learn. Otherwise, it's invasive, it's like they won't even receive it. Setting boundaries is different. It's like, regardless of what you think, my children won't have corporal punishment, and I won't allow you to touch them in that way.
yeah,
That could be a boundary. Another boundary could be, for example, the forcing apologies or forcing affection. That's a boundary in my house, and I said it. Even if they get mad, if they don't like it, I'm sorry. Like, I will help you, I will console you, but still, my children won't be forced to hug you or to even apologize if they're not ready, emotionally ready to do it. Because when we force our children to apologize, they will grow up seeing apologies as part of the problem and not a solution. And those are the adults that grow up delivering empty apologies, those kind of apologies that sound like this: I'm sorry if you felt hurt. then it makes the other person feel this guy is just trying to just do it to check the box and move on. Or they're the kind of adults who avoid conflict resolution, because for them conflict resolution growing up was not a safe experience, because their parents forced them to do things such as delivering apologies and things like that. So yeah, you can set boundaries with your elderly about things.
I'm learning that. I am. It's been definitely very difficult, especially, you know, specifically with parents, with our parents, you know, my in-laws, they're like, well, we raised you guys and you guys turned out great, you know, kind of thing. And I'm like, I don't know if I would say great, you know, like I have like my own traumas, and so does my husband.
We turned out functional.
Yes, exactly. So hence why we're
That's
here.
different from turning out great.
Exactly. And I'm like, this is why we're working so hard on being better parents. Not to say that, like you said, that our parents were terrible, they did their best, but we just want to kind of elevate our experience for our children now at this point, you know? So,
At least in my experience with my generations, they've been healing their own traumas generation after generation. For example, my mom wasn't allowed to go to college.
wow.
My mom allowed me to go to college. I have a college degree. I'm an educated woman. Big part of that is because my mom supported me in that. So in a way, she was breaking her own trauma. She was breaking her own chains, her own cycles. And then if you look at how your great grandparents had it compared to how your parents raised you, you're thinking like, well, yes, I mean, they were breaking their own generational cycles and junk. And I'm sure, very sure that when our children grow up and they raise their own kids, there are going to be things that they want to fix as well. And then that's how generations improve. It might not happen for every family, but that's what I've seen with my own family.
Yes. No, you're right with that. I know that I can look back and I can say the same thing for my parents at least. But I for sure think about it, like there are things that I know that for when when my children grow up, I already have to prepare myself now to just learn how to say apologize from a genuine place. Cause like you said, I know that I'm not perfect, obviously. Like I admit it, I yell sometimes. So I'm just working on just being a better parent as much as I can and doing that and working on those things and going from there. So I definitely am someone who is interested in the programs, that type of programs that you offer, because I do want to parent from a better understanding. And like I know one thing that you have said is that kindness alone is not enough to respond effectively to children's behaviors. So my question for you is, parents that are interested in your Parenting with Understanding program, what are the prerequisites for it? Like, do you recommend they start with one of your online guides? Obviously, you know, we all follow you on social media, but you know, how do we go further? Like, what's the first step for us?
Okay, so yes, I do have the Parenting with Understanding program, which is my comprehensive program to learn how to go from winging it at parenting, trying to make sense of free TikToks and feeling that everything is a hit or miss, to really understanding what your children communicate through behaviors, their needs behind their behaviors, and how to help them from that place of understanding. So two things happen. So you feel confident that what you're doing is what your children exactly need. And number two, so your children feel understood and connected. People think that connected parents are the ones who may spend time with their kids and play and love on them and meet their physical needs. And that's one part. But true connection comes from really understanding what our children are going through emotionally, developmentally, and physically. And that's what the Parenting with Understanding program helps you with. Now, the question is, yes, High Impact Club is a parenting education platform, doesn't only hold the Parenting with Understanding program, but it holds digital guides and workshops. What's the difference between the big main program and the workshops and digital guides? Everything is permeated or based on the Parenting with Understanding principles. However, the digital guides and workshops are very geared to very specific things. So for example, the sleep workshop only talks about sleep and is taught by a sleep, she's a gentle sleep consultant based, everything is based on Parenting with Understanding. The guide on independent play is just about developing independent play, right? The guide on coping strategies is just about how to teach our children coping strategies. So it's just a very specific topics, which is valid. However, the Parenting with Understanding program is all comprehensive on every, like once you go through it, you feel confident that you can address any situation and any behavior. Okay, so most of the time what I've seen, I was even yesterday looking at my customers or my students in the Parenting with Understanding program. Most of them, 95% of them, have the program plus other classes and workshops. And it's usually because they start with the classes and they're like, I think I need more. I think this is not enough. And then they end up enrolling in the big program.
Okay. Is it something that you have to, is it like on a time limit where it's a program where, you know, it's 3 months, 6 months? How does it work?
It is a self-paced program.
Okay.
So once you enroll, then you go through it at your pace, at your time. If you need extra support, there are some parents that they go through the program and they succeed and they're like, yes, I'm ready to rock and roll. There are some others that like, I need direct guidance with the program. And that's why we offer coaching sessions every week for those parents, only for the ones who are going through the program. Not anyone could access those coaching sessions, but they are with an additional monthly fee, the coaching sessions. The program itself is a one-time fee.
Okay. Yeah. Alrighty. Awesome. So for you being a mama, a wife, and a businesswoman, how do you balance it all? Like, what's something that you can offer for some self-care for mamas who are kind of trying to figure it all out? What's a little something, a little tidbit that you do? How do you balance it all?
I actually have a parent balance wheel. It's a free resource. It's in the link in my bio on Instagram at High Impact Club, on TikTok at High Impact Club. When my twins were 18 months old, I felt so out of balance. I was burnt out. I didn't know how to continue. I was coming out of postpartum depression as well. So I hired a life coach. She was a life coach from my church, but she was a life coach. And then she sat down with me and she gave me this parent balance wheel. And then she said, I want you to assess all the areas of your life. And your balance might look different than my balance. People think that a balanced life is a life that has like everything on each area. Like you are thriving in the spiritual and the physical and the emotional, and then like you return all your texts and you do it all. No, that's not balance. Balance is a life that makes you feel happy, comfortable, and connected to your own self and the people you love, right? So she gave me this parent balance wheel and then she told me, you're going to put things on here and take things out of here, and that's going to be your balance. And then I did it, and then I noticed so many things that were out of balance in my life. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I was committing to things that I'm like, okay, if I have like going to midweek service at church was working when I didn't have twins, but now that I have little kids and then I come at 9 p.m. at home just to start the bedtime, it does not work for me now that I'm a mom, right? So how do you achieve balance? You achieve balance by being realistic to where you are at right now, what your priorities are, and what makes you or not makes you happy and relaxed and connected to your own self and others.
Wow. So is that some advice that you can offer other mamas? With your balance, definitely going to check out that balancing wheel on your site. So that's one thing. So if there's another piece of advice that you can offer other mamas, what would it be?
Okay, so if you are a mother who is always criticizing your own self, if you feel that your main statement in your head is always, I should play more, I should do more, I should show up more for the kids, I should take them to the park more, I should. I just want to tell you something. Today, I was reading an amazing book on the doctor by Dr. Daniel Siegel. He's a researcher on attachment. And then he said that good parenting is not based on how much you do, but how safe your children feel. So it doesn't matter you serve them pepperoni pizza for lunch.
Yeah.
Today because you were so busy or because you're going through your own depression and the best that you could serve them today is pizza for dinner. If your children go to bed feeling that they were safe and happy, then you did it.
Wow. I love that. Like, I feel like I definitely needed to hear that myself because I struggle with that. As a stay-at-home mom, I always feel like I could be doing more. So that's great.
That's an expectation that we put on our own selves. And I think it's from this society standards that if you women are not on the workforce earning money and working all day, then you for sure you have to be at home doing and doing and doing. And if you're resting, then you're lazy, then you're not a good woman or a good parent. But that's just a social bias that we put on our own selves.
Yeah. Oof. With that, I want to end it with you dropping all of your social media stuff that we're going to definitely put into the description as well. So if you want to go ahead and mention everything that you're offering at this time for mamas to go check out.
So follow me on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube at High Impact Club, High Impact Club. I'm in there. I have a podcast. It's called the Cycle Breaker Podcast. And I co-host that podcast with my fellow parenting coach, Rachel Rogers. She's a parenting coach in High Impact Club. And then we're there every single week. You can find us on Spotify or on Google Podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So mamas, listen, I highly encourage you to go to Marcela's website, look through her program guides, look at her High Impact Club, her all the social media that she just said. I'm going to link it below as well. So if you want to learn more directly about her work, check out her High Impact Club YouTube. I'm addicted to TikTok, so I absorb your content on there. But when I do want some, further information and knowledge, I watch your YouTube videos, which I find to be very helpful. And now after talking to you, I'm definitely going to check out your High Impact Club program as well. So I will be linking your website, your social media platforms in the description. So make sure that you follow her, like, subscribe, check her out. And thank you all so much for listening and watching. And if you've enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support, please like and subscribe and leave me a rating and review. And don't forget to check out my Call Me Mama podcast on Spotify and iTunes. They drop every Wednesday. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.